Thank
So
you so much for joining us this evening in London, this afternoon in Texas, and this morning in California. So it is amazing and it is great to be back this weekend. My name is Dr. Patrick Businge. I host Great Lives Show on Greatness TV, and I'm very pleased to welcome our viewers. Thank you very much for joining, and make sure you do as well share this video with your friends so that they too can listen, can learn from one of our greatest guests today, Dr. Tiki Davis. But before I invite Sir Clyde Rivers is a world's civility guru. So he is a grandfather of civility. So it is very great pleasure. It's a very remarkable moment that he is here with us to share this moment with us, share his story as well as we co-host together this show. Sir Rivers, could you introduce our guest?
ladies and gentlemen, there's one factor named Tiki Factor. Listen to me. I'm telling you, this man, I was a Division I basketball player, and every time I got the ball, our coach said, go to triple threat. Tiki Davis is a triple threat entrepreneur, world humanitarian leader. Ladies and gentlemen, I present to you Dr. Tiki Davis. Tiki, good to have you on our show today.
Man, thank you for the opportunity. Thank you for the opportunity to participate in this show. Dr. Rivers, I met him about a year and a half ago in Atlanta, Georgia, and he has been nothing but a great mentor, a great friend, and a great leader since that day. And Dr. Sabinski, is that how you pronounce it? Well,
Basinge.
Businge,
Basinge, hey man, I'm horrible with names, but Dr. Basinge, great.
yes.
I've been watching you from afar, man. I love your work. I love what you're doing in the United Kingdom. Man, I can't wait to come and be a part of what you're doing.
Thank you so much, and thank you so much for taking this time from your busy schedule to
Mm-hmm.
be with us this evening or this morning or this afternoon, wherever you are, and be able to share your story with us.
Mm-hmm.
So let's start from the beginning.
Mm-hmm.
So, who are you? Could you just introduce us to our viewers, what you do and where you
Okay.
are, and why you do what you do?
Well, my name is Tiki Davis, and my product and my brand is called the Tiki Factor. And basically, what that is acronyms of my name to give the world how you make it. So before I share how I came from the bottom to the top, I came up with a formula because the most important thing people want to know is how can I apply it to my life? How do I get there? So I came up with the Tiki Factor. And basically, my name is spelled TIKI. The T stands for total commitment. That's one. The I stands from imagination. Live from your imagination and not your history. The K
Mm.
is kindred spirits. The people around you affect you. And the last I is invest. Invest in yourself. So those are the four principles of the Tiki Factor. T, total commitment. I, imagination. K, kindred spirits. And I, invest in yourself. So as a young boy growing up in West Texas, so it's it's like a little town outside of Dallas. So you can kind of in between El Paso and Dallas. That's where Odessa is. So kind of give you an idea. So growing up where I grew up in some housing projects on Texas Street in Odessa, Texas, low income. And so growing up in that community, you have three or four choices. What are you going to be when you grow up? Well, one of the choices, I could have been a drug dealer, I could have been an athlete, football player, or I could have been a petty thief, or I could have came an oil and gas professional. But at that time, I had no idea what an oil and gas professional was. But I knew what a petty thief was. I knew what an athlete was, but had no idea what I was gonna do. So my mom bought me a football when I was 9 years old, and she wasn't even for sure she could get that football for me. So I had the football. So I decided I wanted to be an athlete. But as you go through life, I became all those things that I had an opportunity to become. I became a petty thief. I became an oil and gas man, and I became a football player. But in life in general, you start to evolve. So over 30, 40 years of your life, you're going to experience everything. So if y'all can ask me some questions more specific, and I can kind of share a little bit more in depth what y'all want to hear, because I can,
Yeah,
yeah.
yeah, Dr.
Hmm.
Davis,
Hmm.
you thrive during a crisis.
Hmm.
Can you what what makes some people look at a crisis
Hmm.
as a problem, and yet you look at it as an opportunity?
Well,
Eh,
well, well,
yeah.
opportunity is always, well, you can always come up in a crisis because there's going to be opportunities. It's going to be like buy high or sell low. Right now in a crisis, everybody's selling low. So you could pick up product, you could pick up businesses, you could pick up real estate, you could pick up different things because a lot of people are trying to unload and move. But if you put yourself in a position to be financially secure, you can thrive in a crisis. So me, what I'm doing right now, I'm just kind of sitting back and just kind of watching the, not saying, the old cliche is kind of like, if there's blood in the water, the sharks will prey. I'm not necessarily saying I'm a shark, but I'm being a businessman and looking at every opportunity.
Hmm. That's good. And Tiki,
Hmm.
I saw Sam's restaurant.
Yeah.
Man, Sam, tell me about that, man, because every day on Facebook, man, you're
Hmm.
posting some beautiful food, man. Tell me about Sam.
Well, Sam's is a traditionally owned black restaurant. It's been around for 40 years. I've had the pleasure of owning it for the last 6 years. And so I opened up my second location about 2 years ago in my hometown. My first restaurant I had was in Midland, Texas. I bought it from a guy by the name of Leroy Hammond, and he'd been in that same location for 30 years. And the black community didn't have many black businesses anymore, and they were failing. So I went to Mr. Leroy and I asked him, was he interested in selling the business, because a friend of mine said he was. And he said, yeah, I am, but I just don't know who I'm going to sell it to. And I said, sell it to me, sell it to me. And he says, I don't even know you, Davis. And so we got to know each other. So the ultimate compliment that he gave me before I bought the business was that I reminded him of himself 30 years earlier. So when I took over the business, it was just like a family heirloom. And I had an opportunity to grow it to one of the number one catering business in the whole Permian Basin. Still employ people, keep the same principles of family, environment. And unfortunately, that restaurant, that my main flagship restaurant, burned down on Easter Sunday in Midland, Texas. So we're in the process of rebuilding that, but we still have one in Odessa currently.
Great, great.
Mhm,
Go ahead,
Hmm.
Patrick.
mhm. So, thanks so much for sharing that part of your story. I wanted to
Hmm.
come back to what
Hmm.
Rivers was saying, that you thrive in a crisis, and you just even mentioned one of the crises, having one of your
Hmm.
restaurants burning down. So, how do you keep the faith during
How
those
do I?
moments? How
How
do
do
you
you keep?
keep how do you keep your faith? How do you keep your faith
Oh,
towards greatness? How do you continue in spite of the
I don't know.
circumstances you find yourselves in? Is that the Tiki
Well,
factor in operation?
yeah, no, no. The thing about that in the crisis, I don't know. Hold on one second. I think my AC's not working. Hold on one second. Give me 30
Okay.
seconds.
Eh, yes. So, ladies and gentlemen, in case you just joined us, we are live on Greatness TV, and we are hosting uh, um, one of our great guests, Dr. Tiki
Dave,
Davis. So Tiki Davis is from Texas, and he's sharing his
All right.
story. He's sharing his story of from crisis through
Okay.
courage to prosperity, and he's trying to help us see how we too can make it in spite of the circumstances we find ourselves in. How we too can make it in spite of the challenges of life. Yes, sir.
Yeah. So basically, like whenever my faith, it, when the restaurant burned down on Easter Sunday, I took it as a blessing from God and was trying to get my attention. Because sometimes we often complain about things that we have, and a lot of people
mm,
look at it as a blessing. So I used to kind of complain about my restaurant a little bit. because sometimes the people were stealing from me. Sometimes the business was down. Sometimes I was trying to do something else, so I was neglecting my business, and I complained about it. And on Easter Sunday, I was in church praying to God, and just in general on any Easter Sunday, if you ever been to church, the last thing you think of is one of your businesses burning down. So I'm getting all these texts and these calls, and I'm thinking everybody want to tell me Happy Easter, but when I get out, it's a whole different surprise. So the way I look at it is my faith was basically, I looked at it as God was trying to get my attention. And just like on the resurrection, he rose again. That was the approach I had. So my faith was never weary or shaken by it. I just thought it was a way of God getting my attention. To be,
Dr.
go ahead.
Davis, I noticed something.
Hmm.
You're never afraid of sharing
Hmm.
your faith.
Right.
You're never afraid of sharing your faith.
Hmm.
Sometimes people take a back seat when it comes when they're in certain environments.
Hmm.
They're almost embarrassed to like share their faith. And
Hmm.
I've watched you lead with your faith. How did faith become this important element of your life?
Well, the thing about, we're not here without faith. Faith without work is dead. So whenever no one ever believed in me or I was on the radar, all I had was my faith, because faith is belief in self. Faith is believing God. So I always believed in me. And a lot of times I like to say I wasn't even an underdog. You know, an underdog is people like, man, you're an underdog. The odds are against you, but eventually you're going to make it, right? I was less than an underdog. I was like that 1%er. Nobody was paying attention. So as I started to come up, people were saying, wow, how did this happen? Or whatever. It was like I snuck up on them because they weren't paying attention to me. So I was almost like what you would call a never was. So the belief in myself was that faith that was so strong that regardless of anybody ever signed me, or regardless if anybody ever gave me a job, or if anybody believed in me, I believed in me. So the faith had always been strong, even from a young boy growing up or in business or whatever, starting my business. All I told the customers, just give me a chance and I'm going to show you. And every time anybody gave me a chance, man, home run every time, 100%. Anybody ever invested in me, home run every time, 100%, 100%.
Wow, wow. And Dr. Pat, and can you tell me how you got in the oil and gas business? This is not everybody gets into that business,
Hmm.
and actually you have been very successful in the oil and gas business.
Well, let's tell this journey. Well, I went to college and I got a bachelor's in communication and I got a master's in business. So in 2007, I came back to West Texas and I was trying to find a job. I was having a little trouble really getting some leads because of my background, because was in trouble early in my life. But this one company, a new startup company called Frac Tech Services, they gave me an opportunity. They're a large oil service company. And they told me, this is a kid that's, I think I'm 26 years old, and I just have a master's degree from college. I go in there and I ask for a job and I fill out the application. They says, okay, we're going to hire you as a field engineer. Even though you're not a degreed engineer, we're going to give you a shot. But they said, first, you got to go through training for 90 days. So in the meantime, we're going to start you out at $13 an hour, $13 an hour with a master's degree from college. So I take it as a challenge, but they say in 90 days, if you know this position and we're going to send you to school, if you could pick up the engineering aspect of it, we'll give you 65,000, a company truck and a company phone. So when I tell people I started in the oil and gas business at $13 an hour to within 12 years, really at that point within, okay, that was 5 years, I became an independent consultant. I ended up getting laid off from that job 3 years later. And but the knowledge that I had from that experience, I became an independent consultant, started my own oil company, went to go work for the largest independent oil man in the world, Clayton Williams Jr. And I was over a whole fleet of, maybe I supervised over 100 people on a location in a given day. And so I took that $13 within 5 years to over a few $1,000,000 with that opportunity. True story. No
Wow.
bluff.
Wow.
Wow.
So that's what I'm saying. It's all about the opportunity. If you work with the Tiki factor, or you work with, all I need is an opportunity. If you apply those principles to your life, all it needs is an opportunity, and show them. So I was able to show, and my faith was believe in me. I'll take the $13 an hour because I know I can do the job.
Wow.
So do you
Go ahead.
create the opportunities or do you look for the opportunities?
Mhm.
Because even this moment now, as people watch us here,
Mhm.
it could be an opportunity for them, but they
Right.
might not see it as an opportunity
Mhm.
because they're not focusing on that opportunity. They're not focusing in creating their time with us as an
Mhm.
opportunity to
Mhm.
link up with you, an opportunity to link up with me, an opportunity to link up with Rivers. So how do you create those opportunities? How do you find those opportunities? In other words, the opportunities are already there. You don't have to go for
Right.
it.
Right. The opportunities is never there. The opportunities are never there. What do I mean by that? Is that the door is
Mm-hmm.
fine to seek the opportunity. And the thing that I was doing in my own personal life is nothing ever came and fell in my lap. Like they say, it's just gonna fall in your lap, but that doesn't exist. You got to go out and seek the opportunity. So if anybody that's watching want to work with any of us, you got to seek the opportunity. You got to reach out and say, hey, this is what I want to do. Can you help me? And seek and you shall find. And sometimes you hear the cliche, knock on the door,
Yeah.
and someone would answer. But in this day and age, you got to create the door. You got to create the door
Mm,
and walk through it.
mm.
Powerful. Tell us how we can create the door. How can we
Well,
create
it's
the
just
door to our greatness?
okay. Well, like I said, if we're like I was telling you earlier, if we're in the business of service, right?
Yes.
We're in the business of service. The word you should hear the most is "you're welcome."
Mm-hmm.
That's what
Mm.
everybody should be telling you. Why is that? Because if you're servicing other people, they're gonna say thank you, and are you gonna be saying you're welcome? You're welcome.
Yes.
Hey, so if you're in the business of service, that should be the word that you hear the most.
Mm-hmm.
Because if you're servicing and you're giving knowledge, food, advice, structure, the Tiki factor principles, if they apply to their life, all they're going to say is thank you for the gift. And all you're supposed to say is you're welcome.
Dr. Davis, man, Dr. Davis, a
Uh,
year ago, I saw
mhm,
you going into
mhm,
to have prisons
mhm,
to speak and help people because
mhm.
you're a man that gives back to the community.
Right.
What what is that experience like as you're empowering others? What is that? What has made you? As you've made it, you haven't forgotten other people.
Mhm,
What? How? Tell me how
mhm.
that works with you.
Well, here it is. Like sometimes it says at the Boys and Girls Club, they used to have an old cliche that says, um, "Reach one, teach one." So if you're in a position to give back to somebody that's incarcerated or been in a dark place, sometimes they just need a voice of hope, not to give up. So when I go in there and talk to those young boys, and I kind of mainly try to focus on the young kids, and because they need a lifeline, their life is not over. They just made a mistake. It's a setback for a major comeback. And a lot of times we live in a world, I want to see somebody that made it with a second
Mm-hmm.
chance. So I can go in there and say, hey, I was a second chance person. If I can do it, you can do
Mm,
it. And so it took me maybe from that time to this time, maybe like 25 years to get polished because I was rough around the edges. I was a little rough, but sometimes these people that's getting out don't have a fair shot. And so this program that we're trying to develop in Texas is I want to open up my first reentry facility. We have the facility, and basically what we want to do is help men and women when they get out of prison with the necessities so they won't reoffend. We're going to partner with different companies in the community to give these guys jobs and so they won't reoffend. So no one can really make it on minimum wage. So we want to try to get them a 40, 50, $60,000 job that they can take care of their families, so they don't have to go back to doing what they were doing before to make money. And we want to help them get their ID. A lot of these guys get out of jail, don't even have an ID, a social security card. So we want to give them the tools in their tool belt to help them succeed. So if you just throw them back out there and the police is profile them, they're going to get anxiety and go back to the life of crime.
Wow. Wow. Go ahead,
You
Patrick.
know.
So,
hmm
based on your life experience,
hmm
you've come up with a Tiki factor. So,
Right.
one of the first one you said is total commitment.
hmm
So, could you tell us how you came up with that formula and how you came up with each of them to make sure that as I listen to your story, I too
Okay.
can increase my commitment. As I listen
Right.
to your story, I can improve my imagination. As I
Right.
listen to your story, I can raise up my spirit, my kindred
Right.
spirit, but in turn all as well, invest in myself. So could you walk us through the system?
Okay. All right. I'm gonna share a little bit of my story.
Yes.
Coming from
Thank you.
humble beginnings. Coming from humble beginnings. So we'll start with the T, the total commitment. At a young age, I didn't realize I was making a total commitment to my life. When I was in the second grade, I couldn't even read. So my mother helped me back. And little did I know, my mother couldn't read neither. So I used to go home and my teacher would give me a homework assignment. And she would give me this book by Dr. Seuss called The Cat in the Hat.
Wait,
I'm going somewhere. I'm
come on
going
down.
somewhere.
Yes. Okay.
So she would give me this book, The Cat in the Hat, and I would go home, and every day my mother and I would read this book. But little did I know we were growing together. As I learned to read the book, so was she. So was she. So at that time in the second grade, I made a total commitment to educate myself. I didn't know what I was doing at that time, but I was. As I began to get a little bit older, a lot of kids were just riding bikes and different things in the neighborhood. I always had a sense of hustle to get what I want. So I would go empty trash, I would go mow grass, I would do things like that because I knew the golden rule. And the golden rule is, a lot of people say treat people the way you want to be treated. That's the golden rule to most people. But the golden rule that I live by is, he who has the goal make the rules. So
He who
so
has the goal?
Makes the
so so,
rules.
so yeah, he who has the goals make the rule. So I wanted the goal.
Yeah.
I wanted to go. So just like right now, is you making a total commitment to your life, it's a lifelong goal. You
Yes.
see what I'm saying? Now you flipping the same thing, goal in currency, money. Now we're looking at goal to success. So you got the GOLD, then you got the GOAL,
Mhm.
goal. It's different, but it's the same. We winning. So if we're trying to win, you got to focus on the goal both
Yes.
ways. You got to focus on the goal both ways. So if you're making a total commitment to your life, it's in everything. Finances, relationship, work ethic, faith, it all got to blend together. So when I was this young kid at the age of 17, I found myself in a crossroad. I'm sitting in this jail cell for a crime that I didn't commit. And I have a visitor walk in, which this visitor was my mother. And she was incarcerated the same time I was. And I'm sitting there with my back turned, and I heard a voice, and it said, "So you went and got yourself into trouble." I turn back and I look at my mama and I go, "But mama, mama," and everybody been there. If you ever talk to you, but mama, I didn't do what they said I did. I can get life. I was crying out to my mama saying that I could get life in prison, and she looked at me and said, "Me too." Mama looked at me and said, "Me too," and turned and walked away because she was on her way to prison for life already. So she was a young mother, so she couldn't really console her young son. And so that was kind of the turning point to make this total commitment to my life. So I get up, I walk back to my cell, and I'm telling inmates and jailers and everybody, say, when I get out of here in 6 months, I'm gonna go to college and play football. I'm gonna make some of myself. I'm gonna be a successful man. They laughed at me. They laughed at me like, yeah, you'll be back, Davis. We'll see you again. But the system, and I'm go somewhere out here. Like, let me just tell you something. It might rub a few people the wrong way. The system, like you always hear, like the criminal justice system is broken.
Mm-hmm.
It's not broken. It's not broken. It's doing exactly what it was supposed to do, what it was designed to do. You see what I'm saying? It's not
Yep.
broken in the sense of that's how it was created.
Right.
It was created unfair for certain people.
Mm-hmm.
So I experienced it, but I didn't waddle in my own tears. Now, when I was in the cell, I cried one night. I cried one night, first night. And then I said, hey, man, you got to be a man and grow up. So when I got out of that jail, I started working at this local dealership, washing cars for minimum wage. And I would wash these cars day in and day out, 60 to 80 hours a week. But my entrepreneur spirit kicked in again because I was getting minimum wage washing cars on the clock, but I would go around the dealership and start watching the secretary car for $15. And I would watch somebody else's car in the wash bay for a little bit more extra money. So I started earning more money at that dealership on my side hustle than I did with my minimum wage job. And so I always knew I was special and I was always trying to create opportunity, but I was making a total commitment to my life. And sometime word got around that I was doing that. And so they thought I was cheating and stealing from the dealership. So they said, Tiki, the only time you can wash cars for anybody else that wasn't the dealership, you could do it on your lunch hour.
Wow.
So that's what I had to start doing. But to get back on course, the owner of the dealership eventually found out Tiki Davis was washing cars for him. And he invited me to his office. And he says, Tiki, what are you doing washing cars for me? Shouldn't you be out playing big time college football? And like I explained to him previous, I said, you know. So anytime that things that happen to anybody in life that kind of hurt, we feel like everybody knows our pain. And the guy says, yeah, I know something about it, but I can't do anything about your past. I can do something about your future. And eventually that guy sent me to college. And that's kind of when I started educating myself far as structure wise. But you guys go ahead and ask me some more questions, and because I don't want to ramble on about
No,
that.
no, this is good.
Uh,
Yeah, yeah. Hey, this is critical. People have to transition many
Mhm.
times in life.
Mhm.
What has been your key in times of transition in your life? What has been the key to keep you moving upward and not allowing an actual transition to bring you down?
Well, like Bishop Jake says, if you're gonna cry, cry in the car. And then when it's time to work, don't let nobody see you sweat. So never really show your true emotions, because we all have emotion. Different things that happen to different people in life is gonna make you feel a certain way. But you can never show the public your true emotion when it comes to business and sound decisions. Sometimes you just got to make the tough decision because it's business. So I was always able to separate the two. If it was business, I'm cutthroat. It's got to make a business decision. No feelings involved. And I'm gonna make the best decision for business. Now, sometimes people take advantage of me because I make decisions sometimes with my heart, and it'll cost you. So every time you make a business decision with your heart, it's gonna cost you. So be able to separate the two. That you know that's the best way to transition that, I think.
It's really good.
mhm,
Go ahead,
Hmm.
Patrick.
Now, listening to your story, it was like in
Hmm.
a movie,
Oh yeah,
you know.
yes.
And you hinted at some point that you're creating a movie as well.
Well, like I said, and through my life, I was able to partner and make great relationships. So when I started to write my autobiography when I was 25 years old, I felt like I had enough at 25 years old, and if I live, I'll be 42. I felt like at 25, I had enough to write a full autobiography because my life experiences.
Hmm.
So once I got the book done, and I was just thinking books, so I started talking to people and shopping the book. I got this call from a gentleman that I partner with now that we're working shopping the movie to a lot of big producers in Hollywood and studios. I sent him a 1-page bio like you're asking for. And he called me and I'm thinking book. He says, Tiki, we have enough for a movie now. And this is in 2016. And I'm like, wow. But I'm like, don't I got to have a book first to make a movie? He says, no. And so now we're partnering with some great leaders in that world, because sometimes Tiki Davis don't know anything about the movie business or the thing like that. So I partner with great relationships to get me to the next level, people that's expert in that arena. So yeah,
Mhm.
hopefully in the next few years we will have the Tiki Davis movie, I Had to Lose to Win, in theaters.
Mm.
Wow. And that's one of the key things that people forget,
Mhm.
that is working to your greatness
Mhm.
or stepping into your greatness means having people around you who are going to support, supportive, having people around you who are going to help you realize your dream, that you cannot be great by yourself. You
Right.
always need other people who have
Yes.
walked that path to show us a path.
And I think like asking for help and things like that, that was a thing that I struggle with, because I never really ever was able to do that. But now that I got older, you can't get there by yourself. And sometimes you got to lean on the support system, but you got to make sure that team and you are kindred spirits. The K in the Tiki factor. Make sure that y'all align together. Your vision is very similar, because you can't get to where you're going if you're not on the same wavelength. I'm not saying you have to agree about everything, but you got to be on one accord to reach the goal of getting a movie made or getting a book published or being a world stability leader or whatever you got to do. Everybody got to be on the same page, the same goal, the same heartbeat. Just like, yeah, the heartbeat, like one of my favorite movies, The Five Heartbeats. When them guys are performing on stage, everybody got to be one. Everybody got to be one so the performance could come out great. So in business or in leadership, everybody has to be on one accord so you can reach that common goal.
Yeah, and then there's a comment you made:
Mhm.
lose to win.
Mhm.
Yeah, lose to win. Now this is a concept.
Mhm.
Many people, Dr. Davis, they
Mhm.
will lose, and one loss turns into a bad life.
Mhm.
Tell me how actually you turned losing into winning, because as I travel the world, what I see is many other people think number two and not number one.
Right.
And they think number two because of a setback or a failure they had in life.
Mhm.
And as you said, to lose to win,
Mhm.
man, it can just give the audience some insight on how you
Right.
can lose and a loss can turn into a victory.
All right, let me give you an example in my life so you can understand. I was in the criminal justice system from 11 to 40, okay? So that was a losing hand by any stretch of the imagination. So just imagine 29 straight years of being in the system, right? But
Wow.
I did not let that become my destiny.
Mhm.
So I functioned at a high level. I couldn't just be good at what I was doing. I became the very best.
Mm,
So now let me tell you where I had to lose to win. When I was 17 in jail, I was losing there, right? The system said that I was going to become the 99% of black male incarcerated or with a felony record and becoming a statistic, right? I became the 1% of the class of multimillionaire, not to brag or anything like that, but I became that. But how did I do it? I had to lose to win. The system, the criminal justice system, was the best education I ever had, because it was fuel. It was the log inside the fire in the fireplace that burned in my soul to prove everybody wrong. The system forced me to educate myself. I wouldn't have never went to college if I wasn't on probation. So I had to stay in line with the rules. So by
mm,
going to college and going to school, that gave me structure.
mm.
And so as I had that structure by something that was supposed to be cause me harm, it turned out to be the biggest blessing in my life. Without the system, I'm not even the Tiki factor.
Mhm.
What
Because
without the
the thing
sin.
is, some people go into the system and
Mhm.
they lose themselves in the system. They
Mhm.
don't win at all. They come out worse. For example, someone could go
Mhm.
into prison for a very small crime, but by
Mhm.
the time they come out, they are very trained in high level crime, and they know how to rob the banks. When they just went in for a very small crime. So, but for you didn't take that route. What made
Right.
the difference?
What the thing is, it's a mindset. My mindset is a mindset of a winner. Now, if you go in there and you want this to become your reality, it's easy to give up and go back. Anybody can do that. It takes no skill to go back.
Mm.
It doesn't. Giving up takes no skill. You just stop. I I don't even know how to do any of that. All I know how to do is win. And sometimes I may come off the wrong way because I'm aggressive, because I'm a winner. I don't, say for instance, when I played football, I played the position of running back. You got to be an alpha dog to be a running back. And when the quarterback turns around and hands you the ball, he wants to have the confidence you're going to give it your effort. So when people work with me and partner with me, I'm an alpha dog. I'm going to give you all I got. And that's what I applied to my life. I made a total commitment to my life. That's why I'm so passionate about it. That's why it's the T. It starts with a commitment. Anything you do, it starts with a commitment. The foundation is commitment. Are you committed to the cause? And I've always been, a lot of times, and it was a challenge. Yesterday, one of my friends named Chris, he sent me a text, and he's a preacher, and he lives out in Charlotte, North Carolina. He challenged me. He says, Tiki, and it kind of, he checked me a little bit, and he says, Tiki, I need you to be committed to God as much as you committed to the Tiki factor.
Ooh.
And so I said, all right. He said, yes, sir. He said, in all love. So I said, hey, Chris, I'm on it today because there's no Tiki factor without God.
Mm.
Mm-hmm. And that
Mm.
So
leads us to the last part of your Tiki factor, which is invest in
mm,
yourself. Someone told me that if you think knowledge is expensive,
hmm
then try ignorance.
oh man.
And
Well,
the more you pay, the more you pay attention.
right.
Could you tell us why it's important to invest in ourselves?
The key critical thing is, like, we all need helps to get to the next level, right?
Yes.
I don't meet Clyde Rivers and hand him a book for him to know my story if I didn't invest in myself first, right? So by attending a conference and speaking on stage, that made impact, to make him want to know who is that guy. And I said, well, I need to hand him one of my books. And then I stayed on him. I said, did you read it? And when he read the chapter, he was like, wow. I said, you ain't never read nothing like this before. He goes, no, I haven't. I haven't. I said, so now, I said, I'm different. He goes, yes, Dr. Davis, you are. Or Tiki, you are. Tiki Factor, you definitely are. So the thing about it is, before someone ever invests in you, you must invest in yourself first.
Mm-hmm.
Mm.
So
So true.
so
Wow.
when I'm working with different people, I got skin in the game. Oh,
Stop, Doc.
Breakthrough.
Doc.
Wow.
Doc.
hey, there it is, the
Listen.
breakthrough. The
Doc.
breakthrough.
Amazing.
Listen. Doc, it's right here. I
We're
picked it up
coming to the
sometime. Check it.
breakthrough after the invest in yourself. Yes.
Right. So the thing about it, the people that, like I said, we're partnering with different people with the branding of the Tiki Factor. I'm also going to come out with a children's book. We're also going to have a self-help book, Tiki Factor book. So all these people are willing to invest in me and partner with me now. Why? Because I first invested in myself.
Mm-hmm.
So before anybody ever gives you anything, they want to know how I'm gonna make out on my return. What is a good business? Because like another time we gotta take your feelings out of it. Does it make sense? So if I work with somebody, you always want to know the end goal. When you buy a business, you don't buy the business for today. You buy a business for the end goal. Am I gonna keep this business and give it to my daughter? Am I gonna build this business up and sell it? Am I gonna build this business to sell shares to my employees? It's an end goal. You buy always with the end in sight. You do business with the end in sight. I created the Tiki Factor with the end in sight, building brand, building legacy. If this is what I want to do, now I'm in the business of Tiki Davis. So let me explain this Tiki Factor and bring it home for people just coming on. Say, for instance, Tiki Davis as an entity is the brand. You see it on my shirt. That's the TD. That's the main logo. That's everything. The Tiki Factor, the line, the total commitment, the TIKI, that is the Dallas Cowboys of my league. That's my number one brand. But everything like the NFL, you got the NFL as a whole, and everything comes up under it, like the Dallas Cowboy, the Giants, or whoever. So the Tiki Factor is the number one brand of Tiki Davis. And the people that just coming on that don't know what the Tiki Factor is, the T is TIKI. That's my name spelt out. I use it as an acronym to help people in their life. The T stands for total commitment. The I stands for imagination. The K stands for kindred spirits, and the I stands for invest in yourself. So if you apply those principles to your life, you'll win. You will win. And I tell a lot of people, and you can't go to the next level until you master where you currently are.
Mm-hmm.
So you can't make a total commitment to someone else's dream because that's not for you. So I can't go and say, hey, I want to be this and that or another because that's not my dream. So you got to make a total commitment to who you are and what your ambition is.
Nice, powerful. You have a solution, and that is the Tiki Factor. Sorry,
Yeah.
but he has a solution.
Mm-hmm. Yes.
So, Dr. Davis,
Mm-hmm.
what legacy do
Mm-hmm.
you want to leave in this world? What's your legacy gonna be?
Well, my legacy, to sum it all up, and it's simple: never give up. Tiki
Mm-hmm.
Davis was a man that went against the odds and never gave up. Everything that I do, the key to success, the main ingredients, the way I was able to win is I never gave up. Whatever challenges was in front of me, I never gave up. That's how it all works together. If when I was a young boy facing hardship, if my mom wasn't there, if my dad wasn't there, I never gave up. Let me give you a little bit of my story and bring it home. Like a lot of men grew up with their fathers, right? I never grew up with my father. I knew who he was. He came around about 4 or 5 times through my whole life. I connected again with him when I was 35 years old. And so I'm picking him up and we're spending a little time together, 2, 3 weeks here and there. So at the age of 35 years old, I'm first time really ever getting to spend time with your real dad. And so you're laughing and you're joking and you start recognizing, man, I laugh like him. I got mannerisms like him. Stuff that people that grew up with their biological parents took for granted. I'm 35 years old and I'm learning my dad for the first time. But here's the thing, I never gave up on that relationship. And I was like a little kid and I'm a 35-year-old man that's just happy to spend time with his dad, that can laugh and joke and see where he came from and start seeing different things that you're doing that this man's doing, and you're watching him like in awe and he don't even know it. But here's the sad story about it, is that your father didn't grow up with you and you became a success and he's trying to figure you out at the same time. How did you become this man and he wasn't there? How did this guy become, he calls me the $1 million baby. How did you become the $1 million baby and I didn't become that? So sometimes your own father and you just want to love him, it was a sense of jealousy. And you're really hurt by that because you try to explain to him, I'm nothing without you. It doesn't matter all these people that gave me an opportunity. I don't accomplish anything if you don't give me an opportunity at life. So a lot of times it's your perspective on things you see. All I wanted to do, I was that young kid, even though I was a 35-year-old man, I was still that young kid that just wanted a relationship with his father. So I took that and I practice it in my own life with my own daughter, because when I see her, I see myself as well. And I know when she sees me, she like, Daddy, I look like you. And that means the world to me, because as I was a 35-year-old man, I was looking at my daddy and says, I look like him. So the point to this is I never gave up on anything in my life. I never gave up on anything. And I never even gave up with the relationship with my father. And I know a lot of times people want to know how to get the goal, the money. is the way you get the money and the goal, whatever job you have, whatever career you have, whatever relationship you have, that's going towards your goal, just don't give up. That's
And that's what leads to a breakthrough.
that's it. That's it. It's simple. It's not hard. It's simple. And I tell everybody, focus on the goal and not the money. Because if you reach the goal, things come with that goal and responsibilities. And a lot of people can't carry that weight. I can carry that weight and put it on me because it ain't much that I haven't dealt with in my life. I have experience ups and downs, failures, but like I said, I failed my way to success. And I had a lot of no's. And just say where I live out in Texas, the business of oil and gas business, at the time I was doing it, I think I was the only one doing it at the level I was doing it.
Mhm.
I had a call the other day, and the guy was from the Wall Street Journal. He was asking me about systemic racism. Have I ever experienced that? And I told him, well, yes and no. And it was a two-part answer. And he said, explain. I said, the position that I necessarily had in the oil and gas business was traditionally not given to a young black male, but they gave me an opportunity. And especially at that time that I got it, I was the only one with that position. A billionaire oil tycoon giving a young black kid from the hood an opportunity to run his oil company. But I said, once I got the position, I did meet some racism and some jealousy because the amount of money that he was paying me. A lot of people didn't like that. But I had to be the very best in what I did because that's when I understood business at another level. This oil tycoon billionaire didn't see race or color. All he seen was results. So long as I could deliver the results he was looking for, is saving him money, I had the job. But on the flip side, I'm going to answer the question with the two part of it. The systemic racism in the position was I was the one. I was the one that got the opportunity, but it's still a lot of young black minority people that's not getting that opportunity. So I still wish that people around the world would be given the opportunity that I was given. So I was fortunate. And I don't take it lightly. So now when I'm sharing my story, I come around and show the Tiki factor. I want to be a beacon of hope to show people that it's possible that a man of color, if given the opportunity, he can run $1 billion oil company.
It's really good.
And sorry, Rivers, that's what civility is all about.
That's right.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. And you know what? Right now, we are on a quest
Mm-hmm.
for like justice, because I tell people the issue in the world needs to be equity of opportunity, not equity of things.
Mm-hmm.
Mhm.
People need equity of opportunity,
Mm-hmm.
and this will make. I'm telling you, Dr. Davis, I told someone, I said, we can all win.
Right.
People hate the world. If I win, you lose, and
Right.
that becomes the major battle. But you know what? With civility, Dr. Patrick, then Dr. Davis, we can all win. That's got to be the mantra that we
Mhm.
show people. We can win together, but
Mm-hmm.
that's
Mhm.
how we win is together.
Right.
Yes.
And we're stronger as a people together. A lot of times is a lot of times people think we're our own worst enemies because a person might get jealous of your success or different things like that. But if you focus on you, because if you look at yourself in the mirror and say, how can I work to make myself better? You have no time to worry about anyone else. So as we grow, and and I'm kind of a blunt guy, and and it's just because I think when a lot of times don't say self-made or anything because we all have had helps and handouts. I mean, not handouts, hand-ups through work. But I put the work in. I put the
Yeah.
work in. I put the work in. So success looks different. So when you see a guy that's fronting that's not successful, when I do something, you see me. I look successful not because somebody made me look like this. It's because I put the work in. I put the work in to look a certain way, to build my brand a certain way, to connect with the right person a certain way. But first, with that it's called investment. And investment is a
Mhm.
lot of things: time, money, and effort. You got to do all those different things. Let me see when just give you a breakdown on investments. Not none. Like when I was getting into the speaking world, I needed a speaking coach, so I hired Les Brown. When I was getting into the movie business, I hired an acting coach. When I had no education, I paid for college, or someone paid for it that invested in me to return to go work for them. It's all an investment to get to the next level, and the next level is by invitation only. It's invitation only. So you can't go. I'm not at this table talking to you two leaders if I don't get the invite. You know. So a lot of times people ask me, how do I get to where I get, or I say it was invitation. But here's a kicker. Here's a nugget for you. Sometimes I got to positions that they said, Tiki, how'd you get there? And this is a simple question. Or how'd you get in that magazine? Or how did you get in that movie? Or how did you do whatever? And I said, they think it's a whole. I say, sit down, I'm fit to tell you. And it's the build up. Like I'm fit to tell you, how did you do it? I just ask.
You ask to be invited. You ask to be invited, but still, the other person could say, yes, I'll invite you. No, I'm not inviting you. So still by invitation.
Right. So a lot of times people try to make it extra. How did you get on this stage? How did you work with Les? How did you know such and such? You just ask. Closed mouths don't get fed. It's simple. A lot of times people try to make it harder than what it is, or more complicated, or more difficult. It's only for the elite. No, it's just simple is ask.
And that reminds me what Les Brown says. Ask. Not because you're weak, but ask because you want to remain strong.
That's right.
You can't be strong without asking. So the asking can turn a struggle into success.
That's it. And and like I said, I'm just, I'm still developing, trying to become the best version of myself. And, just do what you can to give back, and always. But first, this is a principle. I saw this the other day. It was basically, first invest in yourself, build yourself up, then invest in others, what you can. And everything else is like a blessing, like a icing on the cake. It just levels to the give back. And the more, like right now, for me, it's really not about the money at this point in my life. It's more about the influence. It's about the legacy. It's about, like, for instance, once a person, like an athlete like Michael Jordan, he's a billionaire, right? But you think if Michael Jordan goes into a steakhouse in Chicago, he has to pay for dinner? No, because they're just happy to have him. So, because that's a level of influence. My goal is to get into a place where they're just happy to have you, where your money doesn't matter. It's nothing. It's your name. It's your character. It's your reputation. Everything comes before you. And so when you come to a place, they say, hey, Dr. Tiki Davis is here. And they're going to comp everything because, or you walk in the bank, you don't even have to fill out paperwork because your business affairs or your business relationships or your business track record has yeah, we're going to give it to you because we know your track record. So your name.
Thank you so much for your time. We are very happy to have you. This is a place you can always come back. We're happy to have you because you're creating a lot of influence for people. You're helping them increase their affluence as well. So how can they get and stay in touch with you?
Well, I'm on all social medias. I'm on Facebook, Tiki Davis, Tiki Davis, Facebook, TikiDavis.com, and then I'm on Instagram. It's the Tiki Factor. So I'm there. Reach out. Anything I can do to help you, partner with you, work with you, then I'm with it. Just trying to be the very best that I can be, and everything that I can do. And I appreciate the opportunity to spend a little bit of my afternoon with you guys. And I hope I said some things that can help, because, the story is so long. I just didn't really want to dive into it so much and take up all the time and really didn't get to answer the questions for the people. But, it's kind of heavy. So I guess we might have to do a story, another show where it says Tiki just going to share his story.
Yes,
Yeah.
Yeah.
definitely. Would be
And
very pleased to have you.
and you know what? And Tiki, I appreciate the
Mhm.
transparency.
Mhm.
Man, you made it real for everyday people today.
Mhm.
Hmm.
That's what makes your voice so valuable. You
Right.
did it. You aren't withholding information. You're
Mhm.
telling people the process. So, man, and I'm grateful for your transparency today. Thank
Mhm.
you.
Man, you're welcome because don't. Oh, go ahead.
No, no,
No.
no. Go.
No. But people respect real. People want the real. Everybody can be cliche or this the way we've always done things. We can't change or they don't want to change. When people say that, you stay far away from those people because they want to stay the way they were. They want to fail. And those people that say this is the way we've always done it, they're going to fail. Ultimately, it's going to fail. So you always got to readjust and pivot and change because the world is changing. Just like a year ago, we were doing business a different way. Today in this pandemic, everybody's doing business a different way. I wish I would have invented the face mask, you know,
Yeah,
but you see what I'm saying? So now
yeah.
there was no such thing as really face masks. You had the face mask for contractors and stuff like that. Now you got everybody that's jumping in the fad of face masks right now because we're in a pandemic. So
Mm-hmm.
this pandemic has taken away from a lot of people, but it's also created a whole new revenue stream for a lot of people.
Yeah.
Hmm.
So I call it the pivot in the pandemic.
Whoo, 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 whoo.
Oh,
That's a triple threat.
Yeah, yeah, the pivot in the pandemic. So everybody, as we close, I'll share the Tiki factor with you one last time. T, total commitment. I, imagination. Live from your imagination and not your history, because none of you your history. K, kindred spirits. The people around you affect you. And I, invest in yourself. If you want success in life, you must invest in yourself first. If you want to partner with me, I'm going to ask you the first thing, how much have you invested in yourself? And are you willing to invest in me to help you?
thank you so much. And it's been Dr. Tiki Davis
Thank you.
sharing his story from the heart to our
Yes.
hearts. With Sir Clyde Rivers and Dr. Patrick Msinga live from Greatness TV. And it's been a great pleasure having you all. And if you want to connect, please go ahead and connect with Dr. Tiki. He'll help you walk into the Tiki factor. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
You.